Halloween just around the corner. Seems like a fitting time to look into new medical research showing why you literally can be scared to death. Here to tell us all about that is Melinda Beck. She's one of our Health Journal columnists. Appreciate your being with us. And we've also gotten Martin Samuels. He's the chairman of the neurology department at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. He's joined us as well. Thanks to both of you for being here. Melinda, let me start with you. Really being scared to death is all about the heart in many cases and damage to the heart.
That in most of these cases, yes, and as Dr. Samuels will tell you, it frequently is about the brain's control over the heart, or your emotions and the kind of adrenaline and hormone storm you're sending when you get very scared, and it can enable you to run away from a critter in the wild. Or it can actually do some cardiovascular damage too.
And things just basically like someone breaking into your house and scaring you that way, being almost in an accident, maybe even the stress of losing a loved one, all these things could trigger some of that, I would assume.
Well, there have definitely been cases throughout history, recent and past, where things like that have killed people. But it's important to stress that you really have to have just the right combination of risk factors. Most people can really survive this adrenaline storm pretty well.
Let's get Dr. Samuels to weigh in here on what actually is the risk for us and what is happening to the heart that can actually stress it to death. What are some of the actual medical things going on in our bodies, Dr. Samuels?
Well, Melinda, I think I summarized it very nicely. It's the problem is coming from the brain. The heart is just the receiver of these abnormal chemicals, and the chemicals are released when we're under stress or we have sudden excitement. Anything that's strong emotional event will cause these chemicals, which are related to adrenaline, which I think most lay people have heard of adrenaline. These are related chemicals. They would get released into the blood, and then they go by the nervous system to the heart. And these chemicals actually are beneficial. They help us to get away from certain dangerous situations, but there's a small downside risk to a big storm of these chemicals, and the heart can be damaged.
And doctor, what if we already have some conditions that could be dangerous to begin with, like blocked arteries? Can this make it worse for us?
It's interesting. It's theoretically true what you just said, and it seems logical. But in fact, we don't have any good evidence about that. We certainly have many cases which have occurred in people who don't have any underlying standard heart disease. They don't have coronary disease or blocked arteries. And we have cases in children who have perfectly normal hearts. So everybody is potentially at risk, although the risk is very low.
Now, Melinda, let me jump back to you. I mean, it doesn't always necessarily have to be a tragic event, I would imagine, that could trigger this. I mean, you and I could be at a Mets game and we could actually win, and that excitement, because it never happens, right? We're both Mets fans and we suffer together. But I'm not I'm saying that in jest, but not really. A big sporting event, that excitement could trigger something.
Right. There have been cases on record of men hitting holes in one and suddenly dying, somebody being acquitted of a murder charge and having clutching their heart and dying. Basically any kind of big emotional shock. And it doesn't even have to be sudden, too. You've probably heard the expression broken heart syndrome. Right. Sometimes that happens a few months after the triggering event. But somehow, mysteriously, there is enough emotion there to trigger one of these sympathetic nervous system storms.
You know, I wondered about this. I was reporting a story for our off-duty section in our channel on YouTube, and it was in a haunted house. And there was a moment where I was very scared in the house while we were reporting it, and I sort of jumped back. I think we may even have video of that. Do we have that? Can we roll that? Let's roll that now if we can. Ah! God! That was scary. So I'm not somebody who's usually like that scared in something like that, but the surprise factor of it was what did it. And Dr. Samuels, let me bring you back on the phone here. Is the surprise element, is that really what's at the root of it that triggers this, is it fright or flight? Is that it, fright or flight instinct in us?
It is. Fight or flight is exactly the right term. It was invented by a guy named Walter Cannon, who was a great physiologist in the early part of the 20th century. And every high school kid knows about fight and flight. Basically, there's two different ways in which this can kill you. One is the fast way, this sudden, what we call sympathetic storm, where this chemical adrenaline is poured out into the blood and can damage the heart. But the opposite can occur as well. The parasympathetic nervous system, the part that slows the heart, can become overactive, and people can give up, and their heart can slow down over days or weeks and then stop in that way. So both of those are actually possible. What you're talking about there is the sudden sympathetic thing, the sudden unexpected event. I mean, for example, these kinds of events always happen around big earthquakes. Whenever there's a big earthquake, a number of deaths occur. The number of sudden deaths go up by about 5 or 6-fold for about a week after an earthquake. That's been measured around the world many times.
Very good point. Melinda, very quickly, any way to predict who might be vulnerable?
No.
No. Okay, good to know. But there is more reporting from you in the Personal Journal section tomorrow. Dr. Samuels, thanks so much for joining us. You add a lot to the conversation. We appreciate your being here.